Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Ad Astra Kansas Money Talks podcast. I'm Joe Blubaugh, joined by Mark Johnson and Bob Schwartz of Bob Schwartz Financial. They have offices in Victoria, Kansas and Silver Lake, Kansas, and you can find out more about the services that they provide and, of course, their contact information by going to their website at bobschwartzfinancial.com. We've got a fun episode that we're going to talk about today, but before we do that, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, like, do all those things that you do with your podcast. We would appreciate that. And our topic today is a financial checkup on three fictitious couples. And we have got some information here. We promise Bob hasn't looked at it yet, so he's got the numbers, but he will be giving us his feedback based on all of his experience, based on the numbers we're going to give him. So with that, we're going to dive in, and our first couple is Jake and Emily Carson. They're in their mid-30s, and they live in Wichita. So this couple, great income, but they've got some lifestyle creep, and they don't have some clear goals. So we're going to talk about that. So Mark, you want to kind of go through some of their pertinent information?
Yeah, here you go, Bob. This one, I created these three. Hopefully they can be of some sort of challenge. But
I do want to say, I hope there's not a Jake and Emily Carson in Wichita.
Yeah, I just thought about that too. I was like, Jake and Emily.
These are fictitious. Just okay. That was pretty precise. And if I'm Jake and Emily Carson in Wichita, I'm going, what? I mean, who's doing that?
And if you have these same jobs, we're really sorry. Jake's 34, and he is an automotive sales manager. He makes $85,000 a year. And his wife is Emily. She is 33, and she is a middle school teacher and makes $52,000. They have two kids, 4 and 1. And they bought a house 5 years ago in a growing suburb of Wichita. Their balance sheet looks like this. Their assets is they have $3,200 in their checking account. They have $7,000 in their savings. Jake has a 401k with $42,000. Emily has her capers and has $21,000 and is vested.
In capers?
Yeah, in capers.
In capers.
In capers. Their home market value is $275,000, and they have $1,500 in a 529 plan for both their kids.
$1,500 each?
Yep. And then two newer vehicles for resale. They're worth about $42,000 combined. So that is all their assets. Now their liabilities. They owe $231,000 on their house at a 3.5% interest rate with 25 years remaining. They owe $28,000 on their vehicles. And they have those at a 6.7% interest. They have $4,900 in credit card debt. And Emily has $11,000 in student loans.
Any idea what the interest is on that?
What do you think, 5%?
Yeah, let's go 5%. I didn't put that down, sorry.
That's all right. And
so
credit cards like 9, 10?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll just go high interest, yeah. So their goals, so this is their, we sat down and talked to them, and they had two major goals. Their short-term goal is to pay off their credit cards, create a vacation fund, and start investing more for college for their kids. Their long-term goals are to retire around 60. They want to help their kids with college, and they want to own a lake property someday. So, what are your thoughts on what they should do next?
We didn't talk about how much the house payment is, but it's taxes, insurance, and everything. Probably around $2,500 a month. My first blush on it is let's aim everything we can at the credit cards.
Yeah.
So if the credit cards, if they're paying $500 a month on credit cards, pay off the credit cards with their savings account and put $500 a month back in their savings account, because we just made them 10%
Yep.
on their money right there. The 28,000 on vehicles are the next thing that I would say, if we're going to accelerate, if we have the space to do that in their budget, let's accelerate paying off that 6.7%. I would never accelerate the 3.5%.
Yep.
That's not free money, but that's very reasonable debt. That's very acceptable debt in terms of building something that's going to be worth a lot of money when they get it paid off.
Yep.
The student loan, I would just make the basic payment that was required on that until I had my credit cards paid off. And the only way they're going to get their credit cards paid off, the only way they're going to get their car paid off is to, it's probably a 5-year note, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey would say sell one car.
Yep.
Yeah, but I would never. I don't think that is necessary unless it's very dire. But they either need to accelerate that, or they need to take whatever that acceleration is and put that away for their children in the 529. And if they, at minimum, they need to put $25 a month in the kids' 529 plans, just so they get used to the habit of putting the money away. You didn't say how they accumulated that. Is that grandpa and grandma putting in money at birthdays and Christmas, or have they accumulated that?
They are not currently contributing monthly.
Yeah. And, my comment on that would be put away something every month for those kids for the 529, so you get used to the habit of it. Long term, do they, if you want to own a lake property on Lake of the Ozarks, or
Table Rock, or
whatever,
whatever,
or on a pond,
yeah,
it's going to make a difference. But that goal, my comment to them is guys, we're going to go one step at a time, and we're going to see what your pay does, and we're going to up your 401k. We're going to get, we've got to get you positioned in some Roth 401k in case you buy that vacation property and need some money. But
so Jake's only contributing 4% to his 401k right now.
Yeah, well, he's leaving a lot of money on the table, Jake. But many times for a 34 and a 33-year-old, life gets in the way of saving, and I know at my age, sometimes my kids will tell me, "Dad, you've forgotten what it was like, to be there." Mm-hmm. And in some ways, even you have a little bit, Joe. But Mark's right in the middle of that right now and can relate to it better.
Well, that's what the money guys call it, the messy middle. The messy middle. The age for 29 to whatever 40, 48
you're buying a house,
something.
you're buying cars, you're putting kids, got kids and saving. It's messy.
I remember watching my brothers, and they were all 10 to 14 years older than me. And I'd be sitting there going, how, they got this and that, and they're, I'd ask them if they're putting money away. Oh yeah, and I just couldn't understand it. And finally, my oldest brother said, you're in the accumulation of living phase of your life. You're getting furniture, you're getting babies, you're getting house, you're getting your cars lined out. And he goes, someday that all kind of goes away. And I didn't, of course, understand that because I'm not very smart. But I will tell you that happens.
Yeah.
All of a sudden your house is paid off and your kids are done with college, and you look at them and go, how did you ever become successful? Because you're that little kid that I had to whip all the time, or pull back in line, or was doing something wrong. But I would tell them not to be concerned because they're in that messy phase, because they've got the kind of income, and they live in a state that will allow them to flourish at that income level.
Would you say that really probably the problem they're having is with discretionary spending then? If they're making 130,000, whatever it is, combined.
I think their discretionary spending's probably not hurting them a lot. I think their fixed expenses are kicking their butt.
Oh, I agree. Still.
Yeah. They should be able to save more than 4% into Jake's retirement.
And so Emily probably should have a Roth IRA too, along with Capers.
Emily should do a Roth or
if she does
403B,
457, whatever her school has.
Yeah, she should be put. And again, as Mark knows, our emphasis on that is get started. Because we all know that when you start, if you start putting away, good things happen over a long period of time. It doesn't happen tomorrow. But this is so typical. I'm sorry.
Well, no. I was just going to ask. So, obviously, your focus would be let's think about the lake house as life evolves. Your goals might change, but you're focused on more of the retirement piece of this. Let's say that this same couple, 20 years down the road, and their retirement now is in a great position. At some point along there, would you have had them maybe open a brokerage account and start putting money into that if their goal was still to buy that rental or that vacation property at some point?
If they were model, yeah, if they were really good. But let's talk about the other side of it. Let's just say that Jake is a head down, I'm going to do my job, and I'm not going to pay attention to a lot else, and I'm not going to put a lot into my 401k, but I am going to put in enough that it's going to be a very healthy amount. So let's say then we go down 30 years and he's retiring. What's going to be a good number then? 2 million? Who knows?
Yeah.
It won't be $1 million.
No.
$1 million won't be enough. But let's say it's 2 million, and he doesn't have a lake house yet. Well, this is me talking to people today. I'd rather see somebody 60 with $1 million in a 401k that wants to buy a lake house, because we can figure out how to do that. Even if he only has 20,000 in non-liquid assets, if the accumulation vehicle it has to be the 401k, I want him to have a lot in Roth, where there's not a taxable event.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of clients make that purchase. Now, if he says, well, we want to do it when our kids are still home where they can enjoy it, Jake and Emily, that's not going to be doable.
Yeah, probably shoot for grandkids. Enjoying it.
Yeah. I hope the kids will show up with the grandkids and go to the lake. Yeah.
And it might be selling your property and, moving to the lake, whatever it is,
Having a lake house is very popular right now, especially, in this community that we live in. And, they go down every weekend and people really enjoy them. But if you ask any of them, does it cost money to have a lake house? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember when we used to go to the lake every weekend back when our youngest was about 10 years old. We'd go down every weekend, and it just used to blow me away what gas would cost in the camper and for the boat.
Yep.
Just that would not the hamburgers and hot dogs and all that, just the transportation
Just the toys.
stuff. Yeah.
What are the basic estate planning things you would tell them, these guys?
Yeah, and that was what I kind of wanted to flip on and see where I'd want to make sure that everything was set up the way they want it in terms of beneficiaries, who would take care of their children if something happened to them. So they need a will, and they need to have an attorney prepare a will. I'd ask them how much life insurance they carry outside of work, and I would say Jake needs at least $1 million, and Emily needs at least $500,000 worth of coverage, term.
Yep.
Term insurance, probably 20-year term, so that the kids can be out of college when the term runs out. Because after that, you should have your stuff paid off, and life insurance, you can self-insure. That's my opinion. Do not buy whole life. Do not buy universal life.
Yep.
Just buy a term life insurance policy from a reputable company, and and move. So that would take care of that for them. Long-term care insurance is way down the road on their radar. I would say let's focus on credit card debt and see, if that credit card debt, I'm going to guess once it's gone, is going to free up $500.
Yep.
So once they get $7,000 back in savings, that's an okay amount in savings for a couple that age. Once they get back to that, if we've freed up $500 a month, I'm going to, I'd say let's put 50 in each of the children's 529 plans, and then the other $400 into the Roth part of the 401k, or into a 401k, a Roth for Emily. And that would depend on, do they get a match? Has he reached his match limit? I'd probably go ahead and say, hey, let's do a Roth on Emily.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that was couple number one. Let's move on to couple number two. So we've got Carlos and Tanya. They're in their mid-40s, and they're from Topeka. High earners, but over-leveraged and have no liquid assets.
All right. Yeah. All right. So Carlos is a dentist. He owns his own private practice and makes $195,000 a year. Tanya is a freelance marketing consultant and makes $45,000 a year. They have one teenage child who's 16. They recently remodeled their home, and they had no retirement savings until the age of 40. So they have just begun their retirement accumulation.
How old's Carlos?
46.
46, yep.
Tanya is 40.
4. So they've just begun this accumulation. Their assets is they have $1,500 in their checking account. They currently have no emergency fund. Carlos has $39,000 in a SEP IRA. And Tanya has $6,000 in a Roth. Their home is worth $480,000, and they have $60,000 in business equity, and they have 2 newer vehicles worth about $68,000.
Okay.
Their mortgage is $410,000 at a 4.8% interest rate. So these are liabilities now. Sorry. They did take a home equity line to do the remodel, and so that is what they took it out for $48,000, and that's at 8%. They have a business loan which they have $120,000 remaining. And let's say, what percentage should we put on that?
Probably 7.
Yeah, let's put 7%. Credit card debt, they have $8,300, and that let's put as high interest, so let's put it 11%. And then they owe $34,000 on their vehicles, and those are at 8%. And Carlos has private student loans still at $62,000 at 5%. So they have a negative net worth if we're doing the math. But their goals: short term, pay off the remodel, increase business revenue, and help their child with college. Long term goal: they want to retire at 65 with freedom to travel and possibly sell their dental practice.
They have a lot of debt.
They sure do.
A lot of debt.
These are the toughest ones because you got spenders.
Yep.
And they will have a hard time. They'll have a hard time getting rid of that because they obviously people fall into categories, and there's some of us that want cable TV that because mom and dad had it, and I'm 20 and mom and dad are 40. I want what mom and dad have. And then there's some that go, you know what, we can't afford cable right now. We're going to watch antenna TV, and maybe in 2 or 3 years we can afford it. This is a perfect example of we want it and we want it now. And there's nothing wrong with that if you can control it, but they're headed towards trouble. And I've been around long enough to tell you that this scenario
It's trouble.
is you know, I've sat with people and watched them turn it around, and you know, and you just, you know, you're like, wow, they did a fantastic job. And then I've watched people where you go, I just don't understand why they, you know, they had the income, etc., and they couldn't turn it around. And I would be very blunt with these folks and tell them that's where they're at. They need to be scared.
Well, they have a huge income. They have the tools to turn it around.
Right.
But would you say that in your experience that some of the folks that you've met with that have the biggest issues are some of the people that have had some of the biggest incomes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to talk about that when I first started in the industry, and I'm not ashamed to say this. I started out in the life insurance industry, and I remember the gentleman that was training me. If we pulled up in a house that there were no cars in the driveway, you know, the cars were in the garage, you know, he'd go, these people are on top of it. And then if we pulled up in a house that had a camper and a boat, you know, parked in the driveway, he'd go, yeah, these guys don't have any money. And you know, it's funny. I mean, I don't. It's not necessarily that's true, but in this couple's case, you know, it looks to me like they're not waiting to enjoy life.
Yep.
And
You know, there's always the mo money, mo problems.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the you know, ESPN, that 30 for 30, it's called broke. You know, you see people that accumulate they accumulate money very quickly, struggle if they don't, you know, have a good background of financial knowledge, that money can go away very, very quickly.
yeah, think about how many NBA basketball players bankrupt.
Yeah,
know?
there's a reason there's mandatory financial literacy and all these things in professional sports now.
Yeah.
Right, and you'd think that, yeah, I can tell you stories about pro athletes and the little bit that I've traipsed in that around that is you want to talk about people making way too much. Excuse me, making way ancillary people, and I'm not talking about the posse. I'm just talking about agents,
Yeah.
financial advisors. I mean, the amount of money those people peel off of these is just amazingly corrupt.
Yeah.
And unfortunately. But anyway, in Carlos and Tanya's situation, I want to find out right up front. Let's talk about the business. How long have you had the business? What you know, you're making a great income from it, but it's only worth 20K. I'm sorry, it's only worth 60K. Obviously renting, he's building, and obviously just started out building. So I want to find out from Carlos what's the top side of his income. Where is it going to go to? Is 300 a realistic? You know, it's going to be at 400. And I'm going to talk to him about trying to live on $240,000 a year. You know, after and try to live on that while your income's going up. And then we're going to pay off the credit cards.
Yep.
We're going to start a savings program, putting maybe $1,000 a month into a savings account, and put it somewhere where he or she can't just debit card it and watch it disappear. You know, it's got to go into a brokerage account somewhere where there's some levers that slow down that process, because they obviously haven't been good at saving. Because you know they've tried. I mean, you know, everybody tries to have savings. So just do the normal, pay off the high interest rate and move it down. The other point being, the more debt they get paid down, the more they can hammer putting money away. And if they'll learn to live on the budget they have right now, if he is in an accumulating income stage, they can turn the corner on this and have things change pretty quick.
And you said something right there that I've always found important, and that's budget. And if you can set a budget and stick to a budget, it can literally be miraculous what it can do to your bottom line.
Yep. Yeah, there's no. I often use my youngest son as that example. I gave him a ledger book when he was 20, when he got out of college. I said, if you'll always fill this out, you'll do okay. He still fills it out to this day, and he does okay. He's really on top of his game. So yeah, they need a full frame out. Okay, here's what you're going to spend a month, and then they got to commit to it. Okay, Carlos and Tanya, is this something you can do? Yeah, and we've all been in situations where somebody goes, yeah, I can do that, and then no, they can't, and then you have to call them back in and say, okay, what can you do? What framework can you have?
What do you think about them not having any sort of emergency fund right now?
Oh, their emergency funds are credit cards.
I know.
That's it. I mean, but now he did find $39,000 to put in the SEP.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So that's good,
Yeah.
and he needs to, you need to give him space to keep doing that. Because in my opinion, putting that money away is going to, that's going to be what saves them down the road. It's too late for a 529 plan. I mean, they can fund one, but it's not going to grow tremendously.
Yeah, should they look at a custodial Roth instead if the kid's working for set?
If he's working, yeah, if he's working. But if they're paying him $6,000 or $7,000 a year to mow the grass, quit paying him. Because they're going to pay for his college anyway. Let's keep the money in the family budget. And I'm also, if they keep making money, I'm going to encourage them to pay down their home debt, even their mortgage, 4.8%. We can't guarantee them that, but what treasuries are at 4.2, and I think legally or what as a CFP, what we use as risk-free rate of return is U.S. Treasury rate. And a 10 years probably 4.3 or 4.4. To me, at 4.8%, we need to get them out of debt. If they will do that, and if let's say after 2 years of doing that, they've got $140,000 in their SEP and $20,000 in a Roth, and they've paid off the vehicles and the credit card and the business loan, and they're down to, student loan and $48,000, and they're down, to whatever. They're going to see that, and they're going to be on board, and they're good to go.
What if I told you that right now he's doing all of his tax stuff by himself? He's not elected as an S corp. He hasn't really done much with deductions. What would you say to that as a business owner?
That he needs to do a corporation, that he needs to do an S corp.
Yeah,
probably. I don't know how many employees he has. Probably not very many.
All right, and we're back. We had a quick interruption there, but we're just wrapping up with Carlos and Tanya. So the bottom line is they have a lot of debt. Mm-hmm. They have a spending problem, but they do have a huge income. So they have the tool there. And I think what you've said so far, and if I were to summarize, is if they can get their spending under control and start with some good savings habits, it really won't take all that long for them to clear this up.
Right, but there's somebody that's going to need an appointment like once every 6 weeks with their advisor to help them stay inside the rails, because they obviously have ran out. The other thing is they need some estate planning, of course. Mm-hmm. Their business they need to set up to be as efficient as they can be tax-wise. He needs a professional tax preparer, and he probably needs $5 million life insurance. She probably needs $500,000. But he needs a ton of term life insurance that won't be very expensive for him.
Very good. All right, we said at the beginning we were going to go through 3 couples, but we've had a great discussion, so we're only going to make it through 2 as we've kind of hit the end of this episode. These are always fun They're fun, but they're also very typical.
Yep.
These are the things that you are seeing. You didn't just draw. I'm sure this isn't any of your clients, but
No.
at the same time, I'm sure the framework is well within the clients that you do see, and this is very typical. So
We see, yep, this a lot.
yeah. So once again, if you're at that point and whether you're in the messy middle or, maybe just starting out with a business, maybe you're pushing up against retirement. If you're at a point where you feel like you could use some help, would encourage you to go to bobschwartzfinancial.com. Check out what these gentlemen do. That they do it every day. They would love to help you as well. You can find all their information on their website. And once again, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe. That way you'll know when we put out a new video. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. And until next time, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.